Welcome to today's webcast of the NFT Lawyer YouTube channel. There are new domain extensions in Web3, including .crypto, .eth, and .nft. So what happens when someone registers your trademark or personal name on these Web3 extensions? There are two videos in this Web3 domain squatting educational series. Both videos are linked in the description below for easy navigation and reference. This is a one-of-a-kind video series on token squatting. I am doing this series because I have been unable to find any other comprehensive content on the web or YouTube that lays out a detailed and viable playbook for brands and celebrities to use to protect their names, their slogans, and marks against Web3 cybersquatting. If you already understand blockchain and cybersquatting law, feel free to skip to the next video where we will provide instruction on blockchain forensics and wallet owner identification. If you are not an expert in cybersquatting or blockchain technology, don't go anywhere. This 20-minute video is going to level you up to the championship status. This next 20 minutes is going to blow your mind. So let's talk about trademark protection and domain names. If you are a brand or a trademark attorney, you may already know about cybersquatting. And before diving into squatting on Web3 blockchain technology, we need to first understand precisely how the Web 2.0 domain system .com, .net, .edu, .xyz of the last 30 years has worked. In kind of yesterday's internet, a person unknown could register your company name, your slogan, your product name, your brand name, or your personal name as a domain name without your permission. And maybe they host a website on this infringing domain and use the domain and website to confuse or counterfeit or defraud your customers and friends, or worse, extort you by demanding an exorbitant price to buy the domain with your trademark from them. When the internet emerged in the 1990s, you were allowed to actually steal someone's trademark as a domain name. There were no laws to stop it, and as the internet expanded, confusion about domain names and trademarks persisted. Let's dig into cybersquatting law. Cybersquatting is defined by the Anti-Cybersquatting Consumer Protection Act, ACPA. The ACPA is a federal law that brought trademark enforcement to the internet in the year 2000. So do you remember when Microsoft, which thought the internet was going to be a fad, had to pay $1 million to buy Microsft.com from a stranger? That was 1998. The ACPA was passed in 2000 to make it illegal for anyone except a trademark owner to register, use, or traffic in a domain name with a bad faith intent to profit. Microsoft looked foolish back then for failing to register its name as a .com domain name and thinking the internet was never going to amount to much. This "it's a fad" argument sounds pretty familiar when we listen to blockchain deniers today. But really, most brands are really way more in tune with Web3 today than companies were with the first iteration of Web 1.0 back in the 1990s. So brands today are working to understand blockchain technology. They know it's for real, and they're starting the process of combating online infringement that, of course, Web3, like any other new and emerging technology, is going to inspire. This video is here to help you avoid being a Microsoft. The ACPA also protects your personal name for the same good and noble reasons. It's to protect you and your community from fraud. If someone who is not the trademark owner registers a literal or variation of your company name, brand, or even your personal name as a domain name with a bad faith intent to profit, well, under the ACPA law, that person is liable for up to $100,000 in statutory damages per domain name, plus attorney's fees. So that's some pretty heavy-duty legal and financial leverage. Many cybersquatters fold under the threat of being sued under the ACPA. Courts and arbitrators under the ACPA and UDRP can also order a transfer of a Web 2 domain name from your control. And by Web 2 domain name, I mean .com, .net, .edu, Really, a lot of the new GTLD extensions like .cloud and .xyz, alphabet.xyz, all of those are Web 2 domain names that work on the DNS system. So wait a minute. So let's pause. And this next point is important because it really demarks a critical differentiator between Web 2 and Web 3, between the .com world and the .crypto world. These new domain extensions, .crypto, .nft, .blockchain, and several others. So let's go back to the .com world, Web 2.0. How does a forced transfer of a domain from a cybersquatter to you work in the Web 2.0 world? And why doesn't forced transfer work in the Web 3 world of blockchain? So why is forced transfer improbable in Web 3? And the answer, my friends, lies in the architectural difference between centralized technology, Web 2, and decentralized technology, Web 3. Because all Web 2 domain names are controlled by ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, as well as registries such as VeriSign, which control the domain name servers, DNS, and domain name registrars such as GoDaddy and Network Solutions, which rent you domain names for a period of years. Well, in the .com Web 2 world, there are 3 centralized companies involved in every Web 2 domain registration. That means 3 controlling entities can take a name from a cybersquatter and forcibly transfer it to the trademark owner or person whose name is being cybersquatted. That is VeriSign, GoDaddy, and there are other entities that can force that transfer. Think of Web 2 domain names like this. You don't own a Web 2 domain, you rent it. And the landlord, building owner, or municipality can take it from you and give it to someone else if you break the rules. Well, unfortunately, that's not the way blockchain or Web 3 work. Blockchain is decentralized with no controlling entities. So Web 3 moves all power from the too big to fail corporations directly to we, the people, the individual. Web 3 is trickle-up economics, where most power lies with the individuals who share whatever power they decide with the corporations. Or at least that is the libertarian promise and potential of blockchain. Token contracts include self-executing software code which makes ownership immutable, unchanging over time and unable to be changed, unless the little guy agrees. And transfer of domain names occur only when the person who owns that wallet, that token, says so. The transfer actually happens without any third-party involvement, no GoDaddy, no escrows, no VeriSign. Web 3 wallet owners hold private keys that execute software code that control ownership of Web 3 domain names. So for Web 3 domain names such as .crypto, .eth, .blockchain, .nft, and some others you may not have even heard of yet, there's no intermediary which can arbitrate trademark infringement or take a Web 3 domain away from a token squatter. So what if you are a brand or a famous person whose Web3.eth domain name is purchased by a token squatter? Your company.eth, your trademark.blockchain. ICANN cannot help you. VeriSign cannot help you. GoDaddy cannot help you. There's no landlord, no property owner, no municipality with any say, power, or control over that infringing domain. Only the wallet owner, whose identity is represented by a string of 64 random numbers, controls ownership of the domain and the ability to execute the transfer code embedded in the token on the blockchain. Interestingly, none other than Microsoft, which no doubt has scars from its Microsoft.com debacle, issued an annual digital defense report last year which warned the next big threat are Web3 domain names written into distributed ledger maintained across a constellation of computers instead of stored in a traditional centralized registry. So Microsoft.com has warned one of the biggest threats in the tech world in the coming years will be Web3 domain names. Unstoppable Domains is one of the companies, it's a blockchain entity that offers some of these domain names. They offer, for instance, .nft and .crypto, .blockchain, among others. And Unstoppable Domain says on its website, quote, unlike traditional domains, unstoppable domains are fully owned and controlled by the user with zero renewal fees ever. You buy it once, you own it for life. Whew. That's a lot, right? It sounds hopeless, and you might worry that Web3 will bring endless consumer confusion about the source and origin of goods and services. Will Microsoft's fears come true? Well, just as the skeptics and Chicken Littles of the 1990s were wrong about Web 2.0, so will the critics be wrong about the sky falling as we move towards Web 3.0. Web 3 won't be perfect, but the benefits, even for companies and brands, will far outweigh the problems. All right, so let's start with the first question I'm sure you're asking yourself, which is, why do brands care? Why do brands need to register their Web3 domain names as NFTs and protect the Web3 domain names from cyber squatters? So why is this important? Let's dig in. For those brands that are already being token squatted, you should act fast and aggressively to secure those domains, and I'm going to tell you why. Given everything I just said about decentralization, you might wonder, how can a brand force a transfer of a domain name to a company-controlled Ethereum wallet, to your brand's Ethereum wallet? Well, let's go back. Why must brands aggressively protect their Web3 identity? That's really the question, it's about identity. Why must brands aggressively protect their Web3 identity? Domain names are part of identity. Well, unlike Web 2 domain names, Web 3 domains do much more than point to a DNS, point from a DNS to a number, and from that number to a website or email server. Ethereum domain names, NFTs, can be mapped to crypto wallet addresses. Remember that. Web3 domain names can be mapped, pointed to crypto wallet addresses, just like domain names in Web 2 can be directed, pointed at web addresses such as www.microsoft.com. Let that sink in. So when a token owner of, for example, googlestore.eth asks for a crypto payment, they provide the payor the address googlestore.eth. Any crypto sent to that branded address goes directly into the token owner's wallet. Well, you can see the problem is worse than Web 2 domain names and websites. Web 3 domain names can be mapped to what would otherwise be an arbitrary 64-character wallet address that pay and receive cryptocurrency. Web 3 wallets represent your branded bank account routing number. Web 3 domains are the branded Swift code for your, or a squatter pretending to be you, bank account. Whew, wow. Just go ahead and think about that for a minute. Whew. In addition to hosting websites and acting as your branded payment processor, Ethereum NFT domain names can also be set up as a login name, a username, an avatar name, a store name across any decentralized application on any blockchain. Whoever controls googlestore.eth can set up a store in the metaverse, ask for crypto payments to be sent to googlestore.eth, and take on the brand identity in both the physical and virtual worlds. Owning googlestore.eth, for instance, can make it easy for a scammer to confuse Google customers into thinking the payment request is coming from Google and that they, the customer, are paying Google. It gets worse. Web3 domain names can also be used as an NFT marketplace name on OpenSea and your social media handle across Web 2 and Web 3. Your blockchain wallet address mapped to a Web3 branded domain name can be used to identify all aspects of your Web3 existence and identity. Yikes. Look, we don't mean to pick on any of the brands whose Web3 domain names you see in this or following videos. Hopefully these brands do control the wallets linked to these domain NFTs. I suspect they don't. Or at least maybe by the time you are watching this video, these brands have followed the tips and tricks that we provide in episode 2 of this video series coming up, the next video, so that they were able to leverage a transfer of those infringing domains to their control. So the domain names shown and mentioned here are just examples, and that should help you realize the problem is more than theoretical. Brand protection in the blockchain world is not some distant problem on the horizon of an uncertain metaverse. If you are waiting to protect your brand on Web3, you are likely making your job that much harder in the future. Every branded Web3 domain has the potential to defraud in ways that Web2 domain squatters could never have imagined. Listening to this video to this point, you might think that Web3 will incite unsolvable fraud for all of us. Web2 detractors thought the same thing about Web2 in 1999 and protested loudly. But alas, don't fret, Web3 is more promise than infringement. Stay tuned. I'm here today and every day on the NFT Lawyer YouTube channel to help you protect you and your clients' trademarks in the metaverse and beyond. Remember just a minute ago, our first question was, why do you care? Why do you need to protect your brand in the Web3 world? And I hope you now have a sense of urgency that this is a little more urgent. Remember the second question that we asked. How do you protect yourself in the decentralized world of Web3? So today in this video, we're going to generally talk about that issue, about how to protect yourself. And then in the next video, we're going to take a deeper dive on the question of enforcement and how to really get a token squatter to give you back your domain name when you can't ask GoDaddy to do it. So how do I protect my brand and personal name in a tokenized world? Let's dig in a little bit. Instead of looking to centralized third parties to assist you, IP enforcement in the Web3 world is really about 4 things, all of which we will discuss in the following videos in this series. 1, forced compliance. 2, practical leverage over the wallet owner. 3, financial leverage over the wallet owner. And 4, legal leverage over that wallet owner. Each of these levers correctly pulled can exert real force. And in many instances, these levers give you as much chance of domain recovery as the centralized control systems of Web2. Today, you may be surprised to learn what many blockchain experts already know. Don't necessarily believe the hype and clickbait. Web3 is not a haven for criminals to engage in anonymous criminal activity such as cybersquatting, at least not any more so than the real world or Web2. A 64-digit anonymous wallet address is not as anonymous or immune from accountability as you might think, or as you might have been told. You can sometimes identify the wallet owner with a bit of digging and both on and off the blockchain. And we'll be discussing blockchain forensics in the following video. Leverage against token squatters comes in many forms if you know how to exert it. Now, there is no threat letter in the metaverse because you're never going to know someone's address and you may not ever know their email address. But there are other ways to communicate. There are chat and bulletin board postings on blockchain explorers, which you can connect between wallet addresses. There's Discord channels for almost every single NFT project. There's forum communications, there's linked social media accounts, and sometimes you can discover an email that can open a line of communication with squatter. In some instances, you can actually find the person's real name. Most people aren't really trying to hide. And the people who are trying to hide, well, they're probably not as smart as they think. So notice or threats communicated to the wallet owner, which owns the NFT domain, can achieve your IP protection goals. There are several ways to identify a wallet owner, and sometimes, yes, you do have to go to court to get a subpoena, but in a lot of instances, a good trademark and blockchain attorney can identify and communicate with the wallet owner in a meaningful way to secure your domain. A really good, competent forensics person or attorney who understands blockchain can open up that line of communication in ways that maybe most people cannot. And that's why blockchain expertise is required as much as a legal degree. So you need someone that understands blockchain technology or is going to work with someone that understands blockchain technology in order to protect your IP on Web3. So the next video is going to discuss kind of digital breadcrumbs and subpoenas to decentralized exchanges and other decentralized apps and other wallet owner identification techniques. If a threat, notice, chat, post, or email doesn't work, a John Doe lawsuit can be inevitable and can also get the job done. You will need expertise in alternative service, among other procedural rules which come into play for many blockchain lawsuits. But if you do file a lawsuit, here are the rewards. If you get an ACPA judgment, which is typically gained by default judgment, why? Because if you give that notice, if you're able to give notice to the John Doe defendant through chat or otherwise, they have a choice. They can either stay silent or they can file their real appearance and their real name with the court and out themselves in order to defend. So a lot of these ACPA judgments in Web3 cases are going to be by default judgment, unless that squatter wants to identify themselves by name voluntarily. An ACPA judgment can have a lot of force. A, it can subject the cyber squatter to collection against the judgment. That means attachment and garnishment. Well, if you don't know who they are, how are you going to attach and garnish them? You don't need to know who they are. You just need to know their wallet address and track money in and out of that wallet address. Find connected wallets, and you'll see in this next video how you go about identifying the exchanges where money is transferred, where you can actually collect against those money transfers. So you could put their money, their digital assets, their crypto at risk. You can chase down their digital assets until the end of days with an ACPA judgment. The cyber squatter's cryptocurrency and NFT transfers through crypto exchanges such as Coinbase and all crypto transactions made through decentralized applications are all at risks. So look at these DApps, these DApps, these decentralized apps are really the heart of Web3. They are visible, traceable, and subject to collection. An ACPA judgment or even a threat of being sued for token squatting can also help you get additional leverage. B, that judgment or threat can be used to preclude the cyber squatter from safely using the best features of blockchain, the metaverse, exchanges, dApps, because if you're there waiting for them, if they connect their wallet or a wallet that they control, a different wallet that they control, to the metaverse or to a dApp, which gets know your customer information, they're now at risk, their assets are at risk, and you outing them is also at risk. All right, those are two things. The next thing, if you establish your trademark rights through judgment or otherwise, these trademark rights can be used to preclude the squatter from using NFT marketplaces such as OpenSea. This will make it harder for them to sell the infringing Web3 domain for a profit. So a trademark lawyer specializing in cybersquatting and blockchain technology can creatively implement and evolve enforcement strategy as this technology rapidly changes each day. And believe me, the strategies we're talking about today should be sound for a long time, but there'll be new strategies coming tomorrow because new technologies, new implementations across all these decentralized apps and exchanges are being implemented each and every day. Remember, one important thing here is that the Web3 world, every single transaction is recorded and publicly available for everyone to see on the blockchain. That transparency doesn't exist at all in the Web2 world. Remember GDPR and Whois database, which used to tell you who owned a domain name? you can't see who owns domain names anymore because of GDPR privacy regulations in the EU. So right now, if someone registers a cybersquatted Web 2 domain name, you can't see who that person is. Web 3, you've got a better chance of identification than Web 2 in many instances. Whew. Okay, that was a lot. Do you like what you've learned so far? Let me tell you, this is not a playbook that lawyers are using to protect their client's IP. This is a playbook we are actually creating in real time for lawyers to assist their clients. This is the playbook brands must understand and implement in order to have IP protection strategies in place in our evolving Web3 world. So one more note, and I get this question all the time. Why are you, Enrico, sharing your expertise so publicly? Why are you sharing your playbook? Well, if you know me, you probably already know the answer. We are proud to continue to set the pace and create the legal framework for IP creation and protection in the wild, unknown, and ever-changing blockchain world of Web3. We, as a Web3 community, must help Web3 emerge legitimately and sustainably so that the incredible promise of Web3 is more likely to be realized. So we share our knowledge as an act of leadership, and we hope you'll do the same in the comments below, and of course by reaching out and participating in this discussion. All right, we put the disclaimer at the end because we figure you're not really going to rely on a YouTube video for legal advice, but here it is. Let's just say it. This is not legal advice. This is an educational and informational video. Every situation is different. You need to consult your blockchain and IP attorney if you need any legal advice concerning a matter. All right. I have now a favor to ask before jumping in with both feet in the next video. Hit the subscribe button if you like what you have heard, and click the bell to be notified of the following videos. Ask questions in the comments, and I welcome your thoughts. And don't forget to watch episode 2 of this token squatting series by clicking the video right there, or find the link in the description below. We'll be educating and elevating blockchain forensics and wallet owner identification techniques in the next video. My name is Enrico, and I am the author of the NFT Lawyer video channel. We will see you in the next video.